Well, good morning or good evening, depending which part of the world you're in, because tonight we have truly gone global. And I say tonight from Philadelphia because in Melbourne it is the morning where our host and some of our participants are joining us from this month. So, I'd like to give a little bit of an introduction and a little bit about our organization. So, for those of you who I have not had the chance to meet, my name is Josh Mayleaf. I am the president and co-founder of the Learning and Development Professionals of Greater Philadelphia, otherwise known as L&D Philly. And so a little bit about our organization. We are Philadelphia based, hence the name. But as with this event, we get people from all over the world, although I think this is our largest international group to date. But we have had speakers now from 3 different continents because North America still counts. And now we've added Australia in addition to Europe. So we've got a couple more to go. Antarctica is going to be tough, but maybe one day. And so we provide programming for people in the learning and development community. Since, like many things since the pandemic, we've gone largely virtual. So those of you who are coming in from across the world, if you see other events that are virtual that you would like to join us on, this is typically the time that we host these. So it works out quite nicely for those of you who want to do a morning workshop from down under. And so what we've got coming up here, I've had our webpage up on the screen and rotating through some stuff as we've been talking here. I just want to hit some of the upcoming events. So obviously we've got tonight, and by the way, I'm sharing everything from our webpage because in order to be here tonight, you all had to actually go to our webpage to register, which means you know how to find it. And you're also, that puts you on our email list to get our updates. So thank you. Upcoming, we've got, now the first one of these is an in-person event, so this will be hard to commute from Melbourne. So Tanya, I probably won't see you here, but we are holding what we are calling cocktails and conversations. So we're going to meet up at the Yard House in King of Prussia, where we will be providing some appetizers, and you can grab the drink of your choice and get a chance to, oh my gosh, see each other in person and do some in-person networking. So check that out. It's free for members. It's relatively inexpensive for non-members, but of course, I'll encourage you to join. Next thing we have coming up is after that is also an in-person. We are doing a gamification certification. It's a one-day certification. So if you are in the Philadelphia area and interested in that, we still have some spaces available. Check that out. And then back to the virtual side here, we have an event after that is called Stories Your Values Tell You. It goes into talking about looking in introspective a little bit about your values, how to use storytelling. Great event for that. We do have a members only quarterly meetup coming up as well. So if you can't do the cocktails and conversations, you've got a Zoom opportunity, and that's going to be hosted by a couple of our volunteers. I know Liz is on the meeting tonight. I saw you come in. I don't know if Mark's there, and there's the picture for it right on cue because I planned that. And the other thing too is when you do come to the website, this is a quick way to look at what's coming up. So another in-person one, we are doing a group event at the 76ers game if you want to see some basketball. And then other stuff, we've got things out into next year already. David Kelly's going to do an event for us in January here on some learning tech stuff. Let's see what else we got. There was the gamification. We do have a podcast if you want to listen, and it's all linked on the website. Also in October, we have Rick Lozano doing some things on leadership and also playing the guitar. So that's my tease on that one. And let's see if I missed anything in that. I think that's the gist. This is a partner event that's on there, which, by the way, for those of you in the area, and again, it can be out for some of it, we do list all of our partner and sponsor events on the website too. So if you are looking for other events from related organizations, you can come to our website, and it's a one-stop shop to be able to find all that stuff. So please do come and check that out. Many of you are members and are registered for free for tonight's event. Some of you paid to be here, so thank you. If you are interested in being a member, a nice thing about our membership, it is only $25 a year. For $25, you get access to all our webinars and discounted rates to any of our in-person stuff. And some of our partner events. There was one of the partner events that flashed by on the screen there is ATD Mid New Jersey is doing a tech showcase. It is an in-person event next week, and you get $25 off their registration fee if you are an L&D Philly member. So you can, if you want to go to that, your membership basically is free because you save that money on that. So feel free to poke around the website. One other nice thing for members is you can click on where it says workshop recordings. All of you will receive a link to tonight's recording as you have registered for the event, but we now have a repertoire of it. We did a few recorded things before the pandemic started, but we now have almost 3 years worth of recorded webinars in our archives to go back and take a look at. So that's another benefit of being a member. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors. So I don't know that anybody from Judge is on here tonight. If you are, say something. Otherwise, I'm just going to give you all a quick plug. Going once. All right, Judge Learning Solutions is our website sponsor. That means you can find them literally on every page on our website. Two main things that they do are, one, they place people in jobs. So if you are either hiring or looking to hire, you can reach out to them. I got one of my previous jobs going through Judge, so I have good things to say about them on that front. And they also do custom design work. If you need assistance designing materials, you can reach out to them as well. Other sponsors, we've got Degreed, who is our email sponsors. You can find links to their stuff in literally every weekly email we send out. They provide a learning experience platform where you can aggregate your courses and other materials to help build a learning path for people in your organization. And in those weekly emails that we send out, they do have a link to a white paper in there and some it's a report. It might not necessarily be a white paper, but anyway, there's information in there. And then Training Pro sponsors our job board, which members can post jobs on our job board, which is on our website at any time. And anybody is free to review any of the posts that are up on there. So that is our sponsors. Want to take a moment just to recognize any of our volunteers that we have on here tonight. We have a good crowd, so I'm trying to look through and see that. I think I saw Suzanne, who is our organization's board. She's on our board and is a secretary for the board and helps us keep this organization running, as well as some of the other volunteers. Vicky is our producer for this evening and is going to be doing some things behind the scenes and helping out here. And I mentioned Liz earlier, I saw, who is going to be hosting one of our upcoming events. And anybody else I missed, I'm sorry, but we can't do this without all of our volunteers. So thank you all. And with that, I think what we're going to do is I will stop talking and we can move into the star of the show here. So I'm going to turn it over to Tanya to be able to share her screen. And by way of introduction here, I'm going to tell a little bit of a story. So I went to an ATD International conference in Washington, D.C. in 2019. And had the fortune to stumble into one of the rooms where Tanya was presenting and was exposed to things I hadn't thought of before in a way to use them to make my training courses more engaging. And as you'll see, and I think it's number 1 or number 2 on the list, I'm drawing a blank. One of the big ones for me, and that one was focused on that one point more so, was the idea of setting the stage and getting people excited to come to your programming. And I immediately took that back and started applying it at work. I actually had access to the recording, so I brought my team in at the time and showed it to them. And much like, for those of you who saw, and I know she's going to cover it in the presentation, most of you saw Tanya's welcome email to this event tonight. We started doing that with our participants, and it worked really well. So well that when I changed jobs, I started doing it at that job too, and also continued to work well and be successful. And then this past May, when I went back to the conference again, I'm sitting in a session and there's a chair open next to me, and who sits down but Tanya? And we started talking, and I told her how impactful her session had been for me. And she told me she was speaking again. So I again went to see her, which was this session you're about to see. And again, walked away with a whole bunch of stuff and said, would you come and do this for our crew in Philadelphia? And so that's how we're here. I will let her talk a little bit more about her background and what she does. And I think that's incorporated into all of this, but I've seen this before and I'm excited to see it again. So that's my long-winded introduction. And now I will step back and be quiet.
Thank you so much, Josh. It was an absolute delight to see you in Orlando this year. You know, I come from a very long way away, and in fact that trip had taken me about 27 hours to get there. And to see a familiar face, I sat down and there you were, and it was wonderful. So thank you very much, and thank you for sharing with me how you're using the things that we learned in our sessions together, because as you all know, as a learning facilitator and learning catalysts, that's my new name for us, when people actually put in place the things that we talk about and we share, it really makes what we do absolutely worthwhile. So thank you so much for sharing that with me, and welcome everyone. It's such a delight to actually be able to talk to you from the future. This is Friday morning in Australia, so rest assured nothing bad has happened, and you will all get to Friday morning and it'll be great. We are in spring, coming into our summer here now. So, and I'm from Melbourne, so we're it's a little bit cool, which is why I have a jumper on. But you know, it's going to be a great session today, and we're going to warm up and get excited about what we're going to learn. But before I start, let me please share my screen with you. Just one moment. Share sound. I'm going to do that one, and we keep our fingers crossed that it works. Josh, can you just give me a thumbs up that you can see my screen? Great, thank you. Very good. So thank you very much. And today we're here for me to share with you 5 things that Disney taught me about how to engage learners. But before we start, this is something that we do in Australia before we start any learning session or any meeting, in fact, in our organisations. So today I come to you from the land of the Wurundjeri people. I would like to acknowledge them as the traditional and First Nations owners of the land. I pay my respects to the elders, their elders, both past, present and emerging, and the elders of other First Nations peoples on whose lands we are all coming from today. Before I begin, though, let's get into, before I actually talk about what we're going here to learn today, let's talk about how you can get the most out of our session today. So here's what I would love for you to do. Anybody on the call who knows me knows that the thing I love the most is to talk to people. So when I'm on a call and there's no one in the room with me, what I would really love for you to do, if possible, is for you to have your videos turned on. Now, I can't see everybody on the screen, obviously, but especially if you're speaking to me, it would be really, really lovely if I could actually see your face, and that way I won't feel so far away. Also, this is a really interactive session. What that means is I don't want to do all the talking. We are a group of amazing learning professionals on the call today, and we all have our own experiences and skills and things that we do that we can share with others. Because one of the things that I love about my L&D tribe, and that's all of you now, so go you, is that we are such a great community of sharers, and we learn from each other, and because that's what we do. So please today feel free to jump in at any time. And I'm going to actually ask the mod, Vicky, if you could just keep an eye on this for me. If you'd like to jump in and say something, I guess you can. There are a lot of people on the call, so it would be probably great if you could pop it into the chat that you'd like to talk, or pop your hand up on the screen, and Vicky will keep an eye on that, and I will keep an eye on that too for as many as I can see, and we'll open to you. So please feel free to just jump in at any time. This is not a lecture. This is not a talk fest on my part. This is a conversation that we're going to have about the things that we can do to bring kind of the magic, but not Disney magic, but kind of magic into our learning spaces. So please feel free to interact. Also, sometimes there will be a couple of times that they'll pop you in a breakout room. When you first go into the breakout rooms, please introduce yourselves to each other. There are people on the call today from Melbourne. There are people from New Zealand. We're not going to talk about a rugby game that happened in Melbourne last night, because we're just not going to talk about that. It was not great for Australia, let me just say, and we're very mad on our rugby football here. But welcome to the people from New Zealand as well, and of course to all of the people who are coming from across the globe. Now, just to start the interaction, I'm going to find out where in the world you are from. Now, I know you're probably very familiar with Zoom, so I'm quickly going to go through this. If you could find your annotate tool and then find your stamp tool. From that, I'm going to ask you to stamp whereabouts in the world you are from. If you could do that for me now. Where are you Zooming from? Oh, we have Faith from Sydney. That looks like Faith, and lots of people. Suzanne, Jen, Emily. I'm looking at my screen now. Pam, Tracy. Tracy, where are you from? You've stamped right up in front. I'm not quite sure where you're from, Tracy. Lots of Vicky McDonald, of course, you're in Philadelphia. Someone's from Orlando. That's right, Brian. We had that conversation today. So we're from all around the world, and my New Zealand people are not stamping, so I'm not quite sure why, but there's a whole heap of people on the call from New Zealand today, and of course many people from Australia. Very good. Thank you so much for doing that.
Dan is saying he is in New Zealand but can't find the annotate tool, so we'll have to take his word for it.
Okay, that's very good. All right, so let's clear all of them now. Thank you very much. Whoever it was who can't find the annotate tool, send me a message, not now because I'm talking to you, but like after this, and I can take you through it. It's really cool. So if you could do, if you'd like to find out more, just send me a message and I'm very happy to help. So what's the magic in store for you today? Well, I got the inspiration for this from the phenomenon of me going from, I'm really not a Disney person, to, oh my God, I met Mickey. So I wanted to understand what it was about what Disney did to take me from really not that keen about it to now I've been to 5 parks all around the world. I wanted to understand why when I got to Disney and spoke to people, people had been going for generations, and like it doesn't really change that much, right? So what is it about it that draws us in? While I was thinking about it, I thought, wouldn't it be really great to be able to incorporate or discover some of the things that Disney does and incorporate them into the things that that we can do to get people excited and engaged and enthralled about our learning sessions as well. So that's kind of when that was the story around the inspiration for today. So I'm going to share with you 5 things. There's more than 5 things, but I've only got an hour, so it's going to be 5, and it's going to be 5 quick ones about some of the things that I noticed Disney did. 5 things I noticed Disney does that we can incorporate quite easily, I think, into our learning sessions. Okay, so first of all, a question. We're going to talk about engaging learners, but I need you to think about, why is it even important? And I don't just mean, of course, it's important, people need to be engaged, but I need you to think about it in 3 different areas. What's the impact of being engaged on our learners? What's the impact of being engaged on our organisations? And what's the impact of learners being engaged on you? So I want you to have I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to have a think about that. You can write it down. And what I then would like you to do is to share it. Now you can share it in chat if that's what you'd like, or you can jump in and tell me what your thoughts are around the impact of learner engagement on learners and or organisations, and lastly but not least, you. So I'll give you about 30 seconds of just quiet time. Okay, so who would like to share? If you'd like to speak to me, please unmute yourself and jump in, or put your hand up and we can hear you. Otherwise, as everyone else is, as a lot of people are doing, please pop it into the chat. So Susan said, learners are engaged and more likely to assimilate the learning. You're absolutely right. People enjoy the experience, said Josh. I'm monitoring chat now, Vicky, so I've got it up. I can kind of see it. But if you see any absolute gems that I haven't seen, could you please read them out for us? Would anyone like to actually jump in and speak to me?
Yeah, go on, Tanya. I'll break the code of silence on a Zoom call. It's Mark here, an Englishman who lives in New Zealand and is currently in Melbourne, which is a weird combo. So this may be a bit of an all-out statement, but without engagement, learning isn't happening, full stop.
You're absolutely right. Learning doesn't happen without engagement. So that's a really huge impact that it has on the learners. But what about you? What if engagement doesn't happen? What's the effect on you, Mark, as an awesome facilitator?
As a tired, slightly discombobulated traveller at the moment, I will snooze and I will lose. I'll just end up switching off, not getting any value. And even if it's not the tools and the content, I just won't be able to extract it in a way that's going to be useful for me.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Thank you. That was such a great answer. Ginger says engaged learners should be focused on content, therefore increase retention, which is then applied to the work, and it increases, I missed that last bit, increases organisation in a positive way to move forward. Absolutely. Vicky says learning is about changing behaviour. If I'm engaged, I'm more inclined to change. Yeah.
And I think Steve might be answering with his background.
I can't see Steve, I'm sorry.
He's got a poster in front of him, which I can only read the big print on, but
what does it say? The learning that Steve, stand tall, Steve, could you unmute yourself and please read out that, because it's a little hard for me to read it from here.
Oh, it's the Maya Angelou quote. It says, I've learned that people will forget about what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you make them feel.
It's one of my favorite quotes, Steve.
I'm glad.
Thank you.
Me
Thank
too.
you for sharing. Absolutely. People will never forget how we make them feel. So if we're making them feel like some of those people in that slide, then we're doing them a very big disservice. But I even need you to think about, as a facilitator, if your learners aren't engaged, how are you feeling about being in the room with them in that moment? As you can probably imagine, it wouldn't be a very nice experience for you. And one of my biggest philosophies, or one of my biggest things that I talk about when I talk about this wonderful world of learning development that we're in, is that if we're not having a good time, if we're not feeling good about it, then we're doing our learners a real disservice. So engaging learners is, yes, it is about the learners, and yes, it is about the organisations that sponsor us or that employ us, but it's also about you having the best time doing the best job in the world. Let's move on. I was going to do a Mentimeter, but actually I'm not going to worry about that. What I'd like you to do in the chat right now, energy is contagious, Shimen, you're absolutely right. What I'd like you to tell me in the chat right now is, how many times have you been to a Disney park ever? How many times have you been to a Disney park ever? 2, 4, twice, more than 10, Tracy, over 100. Hold on. Over 100? Who was that? It grew so quickly. Over 30, Steve. Whoever, 0. Dan, you're missing out. 2 times, Disneyland and Disney World, yeah. 8, 0. I don't own a passport, Faith. Okay. So Faith, you must be, I think you must be from Australia then, because we're about the only country that doesn't have it. Or once also a Disney part of the US theme park for Work for America. Yeah, great. Whoever it was that, like I saw 100 flash up, whoever it was who was over 100, could you please identify yourself?
Oh, that was me.
Brian, hello. Over 100, that's insane. How did that even happen?
Well, and I'm thinking 100 is probably a rough number. It might not be quite 100, but I moved down here in December. We've been going routinely, at least I would say twice a week since January. So that's like 60 sometimes. And then I came here for vacation multiple times a year over the past 10 years before we moved here. So I would say definitely about 100 and then maybe more actually, if I'm really doing the math.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So someone said that, Brian, that must be a record unless you were staff, but it sounds like you weren't staff.
I'm not staff, no, but when you live close to
Right.
Disney, you go more often.
So what you're seeing on screen at the moment is photos from our most recent for a trip to Disney in Orlando of May this year. We've also been to Paris, Tokyo, and Anaheim, and this was our second time to Orlando. Now, we just had a ball, as you can see. But why am I even bringing in Disney? We talked about why learning engagement is important. Now let's talk about why Disney. Because Disney has that sort of magic. So this is us in Anaheim, actually after ATD in San Diego in 2009. Was it 18, 19? Can't remember, one of those. And this was me saying to my eldest daughter, Regan, that's it, no more Disney. And I've managed to get to it one more time. And I probably will intend to go again, truth be told, hand on heart. So why Disney? Why even look at Disney? What Disney does really well that we have so much to learn from is that Disney surprises and delights every single person who walks through the gates. Why should we even be interested in what Disney does? Because we are in the surprise and delight business too, or we should be. So without further ado, I'm going to launch into now my 5 insights, the 5 things that I think Disney can teach us about how we can engage, enthrall, make our worlds wonderful for our learners. Okay, so the first thing is this. The experience of Disney begins before you arrive. For those of you who have been to Disney, and Brian, you're going to be the expert in the room on Disney just for a bit because of your experiences. What does Disney do to get you excited before you even get there? Now you can type in the chat or talk to me. That would be great too. What does Disney do? How does Disney get you excited about, even like put the spark in your head and then, touch the buttons a bit more and get you really excited about your upcoming trip? How do you do it? How do they do it, I should say? Tracy, you've unmuted. Did you want to say something to me?
I'd love to. They're so good at sending information out ahead of time. They send emails. They used to send mailings. Here's your package. When they did the magic bands, here's your magic bands. You have X amount of days. It's building excitement, even to the point where if you want to make it used to be called fast passes. They gave you a countdown. You couldn't do it 6 months ahead of time. You did it 45 days ahead of time. You did it. So there was always that building up to the event. And then once you get there, you're greeted.
Yeah.
Welcome home.
Yes, absolutely. That Disney does so much to touch points with us before we even walk through the gates. And by the time we're there, our excitement is like, oh, it's fever pitch. Disney does this.
The magic is calling for you and me. All that we have to do is believe. The magic is calling to the place where all of our dreams come true. The most magical place on earth. Answer the call.
Come celebrate today.
The most magical place in the world. Come celebrate today. That's amazing, isn't it? Actually, all it is a theme park with overpriced food, some cool things to see, but it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. That's what it actually is, but that's not what Disney Magic does. Disney Magic makes it the most magical place in the world. So I was thinking about this a lot, and this was a couple of years ago when I first started thinking about this theme. And what I was thinking about was, how do I, as a learning facilitator, get my learners excited before I even meet them? I tried it on you. I sent you a welcome email. you should have all got one of this. You should have all got this from me. And if you didn't, I apologise. You probably I may not have had you on my list when I sent this out. And what I try and do in the welcome email is that I try and get you excited. It's my first touch point with you. But I don't just leave it with the email. Now, notice what I do in the email as well. Actually, I'm going to, maybe Shemin, would you mind just unmuting for a minute? Only because you're the top of my screen at the moment and it's easy to see you. Hello. Can you have a look at that email for me? And just tell me what you noticed about what I say in there. Yes, of course.
Hi, Tanya. Just making sure you can hear me. I'm just quickly. Sorry, say again. You can hear us?
Oh, no. You were literally at the top of my screen.
Okay, great. That's all right. Just grabbing my mic then. Well, what I noticed first of all is just I'm thrilled. It's like the very first thing, so it sets an expectation, I think, to me, but also just the overall email, it gets you thinking about things. And what I really liked, especially, there's sort of the, I wonder who this person is, might they be, all those sort of unknowns that we walk in with. And I'm going to guess that YouTube, because I signed up for this like 20 minutes ago, sorry. But I'm guessing that it's one of your videos that introduces yourself. So we start to feel a bit more comfortable and with you. And then the second thing, what I love is that you're recognizing that we all are bringing knowledge and ideas. So right away, it's kind of, without you saying it, you're setting us up to say this is going to be kind of a collaborative thing. That's the vibe I picked up from the email.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for that. That's exactly what my aim is. This is actually called priming. This is a way of setting some expectations around what our learners can expect when they come into the room with us. Because a lot of the time, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on, because some of you told me about some of the challenges that you're having when it comes to engaging learners. When learners don't want to come to a session, they're really in a bad headspace. They're like, oh my God, seriously, do I have to go to this training? It's just going to be so boring. It's like 4 hours out of my day that I'll never get back, 4 hours out of my life that I'll never get back. And so when learners are coming to the session with that expectation, you know what, that's probably what they're going to experience. So what I try and do, and the lesson I learned from Disney, is to let's start getting them excited about the session before they actually come. So at least they've got some expectation of what they can expect, what can happen, or what is going to happen in the session. And also I start getting them thinking about the content, so that I'm not asking them to do much. I didn't ask you to do much. I just said, what's the best thing you've ever done? Because you know what, we're all pretty proud of something that we've done when it comes to a particular piece of content or topic. I asked you what your magical superpower was, which was just great for me to see all of those. And it gives me a little bit of an insight into you. And if we were in a different situation where I may be seeing you on multiple learning sessions, I start building a relationship with you based on what I've asked you to provide me. And thirdly, it's always good to diagnose the where we're at in terms of the content or the topic that we're going to learn, so that, or it's always good that learners do that, so that when they're coming to the session, they're actually coming to seek information, to pull information from us, rather than to just be passive recipients of it, or that we have to push information on them. So it's a really great way to just get learners thinking about where they are at in the skill of what we're going to teach them. And then I gave you a link to the video, and so Josh told me today that there were about, what did you say, Josh? About 17 people had viewed the video, so which means that most of you haven't. It's only a couple of minutes. I'm going to show it, then you're going to tell me why it works.
Who's the leader of the club that's made for you and me? MICKEYMOUSE.
I met Mickey. But that's not nearly as exciting as meeting you when you join me for my webinar on the 5 things that Disney taught me about how to engage learners. I'm Tanya Titherley from the Master Trainers Institute Australia, and it's great to see you. Here in Australia, we're not lucky enough to have the Disney worlds nearby. In May this year, I visited the Disney parks in Orlando, and I spoke to people there who had been going to Disney for generations. And I began wondering, what is this magic that keeps thousands and hundreds and thousands and thousands and hundreds of people enthralled engaged, and coming back for more. The Disney story is an interesting one. So it started with a mouse and a little imagination and a lot of hard work, and then some reimagining and some reinvention. It was about new ideas and thinking outside the box and finding ways to surprise and delight. It kind of sounds like the things we learning professionals do regularly, doesn't it? I realised during my visit that Disney can teach us so much about how to enthrall, engage, and excite our learners and keep them coming back for more. Are you curious? Well, at the webinar, I'm going to share with you my 5 top insights. Here they are. 1, the experience begins before you arrive. 2, how you greet people actually matters. 3, the physical environment has a big impact on the experience. 4, if you can dream it, do it. 5, end with a bang. You will leave them excited and hungering for more. We'll explore each of these during the session, and you'll walk away with some practical, fun, new, reimagined, reinvented ways to surprise and delight the learners in your worlds, both in face-to-face and in the online learning spaces we're in. To prepare for the session and to help you get the most value from our time together, please make sure you reread the email you received from me and send me the answer to the questions that I ask you in that. I'm so looking forward to seeing you and sharing ideas and learning from each other. I'll see you soon, not long. Bye.
Who's the leader of the club that's made for you and me? MICKEYMOUSE.
Does that work to generate excitement? Yeah, Amanda, tell me what works about it.
Did you say Amanda? I'm sorry.
Yes, I did say Amanda. That's my funny accent.
Well, I liked it because I felt like you connected with the audience. I mean, the audience is very clearly a group of learning professionals. So you made it about us and what we could get out of it, not simply about what, you know, you were going to teach us, but what the benefit to us attending was. You also used humor and connected the theme with your attire, and your intro was, you know, I met Mickey, which made us want to listen to more.
Great, thank you. Yes, I did all of those things, and when I put together this video, a lot of people often say to me, "Oh, I don't have the equipment and I can't really do it." Honestly, I did it on my phone. That's it, my iPhone, and I do have a lapel mic, but sometimes if I can't find it, I don't use it. It's a really, really simple thing to do. And in terms of video editing, honestly, you don't, as long as you can just do it on your phone, or you can just do it in one take. If you're worried about what to say, here's a 5 things that you can put on, include in your video. I'm happy for you to take a photo of that, but I'm also happy to send out the slide pack to you afterwards. So please, if you don't feel like taking notes or photographing this, that's fine. You'll get, if you contact me, I'm happy to send you a copy. So these are the 5 things that's all you need to put into a video, and it's really, really easy. I've got a couple of, in the resources that I can send out to you, I've got a couple of tips on things like great apps if you're worried about remembering stuff. There's a great teleprompter app that's available at very low cost. It makes it look very professional. And I'll give you some other tips as well. So if you'd like some further resources, please let me know. Putting together the video is easy, it's great. It connects you to the audience. It's the greatest icebreaker I have ever found in the world, because when people walk into a room with me, or they come onto a Zoom call with me, they feel like they know me already. And they come in and they go, "Oh, hi, Tanya, how are you? Like, it's great to see you." And I'm like, "Oh, hello," but I have no idea who you are. But we get to that later. So it's like that breaks the ice with them. It makes them comfortable, makes people comfortable with me. It also sets the tone. So clearly, I'm not, like in this moment, for this session, I'm not a serious trainer. This is not going to be a very dry topic with very serious overtones. You could tell that from the video, I hope. So it also gives them an expectation of you and what to expect from you. So have a real think about how you might be able to put together a video. If you need help, let me know, and use that for your next session. Now, the other thing that Disney does really well, as you've all told me, like countdown to the event, to your visit, you're sending out wristbands. What do you do? I'm curious what you do to promote and generate excitement about your upcoming learning events. This is an opportunity for those of you who are already doing this, about this generating excitement bit, to share what you do so that we can learn from you as well. So please open your mics, undo your mics, no, unmute yourself. That's what I'm trying to say, and share with us all what you're currently doing to generate excitement for your learning events. Don't be shy.
I'll jump in.
Oh, good. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, when I have an event, specifically a webinar type event, what I do is I pose a series of maybe 3 very, very interesting questions. And I state when you arrive, you'll get the answers to the survey of this. So that way, everybody who's coming, you'll know what the overall opinion is of everyone. And that's my first 3 little things to kick off. So if you want to find out the answers to what it is that I, questioned everybody about, jump in. And it seems to work really, really well. I work a lot in the K through 12 education space, and I pose questions about administrators or educators that they want to know if they're the only ones in their state who are their area is doing. So I ask questions for everybody, and then they come in, they want to know the answer to that. So that kind of builds excitement.
Yeah, great. Not only does it build excitement, once they get to the room, it must build an amazing connection between people because they all realize they're not alone. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Love that. I've got a little build from Steve's, like a similar process when we run conferences or events, that we always tailor those 3 questions to the topic or the speakers that we've got at the event, and often use SurveyMonkey just as a really nice, easy way to collate, or try not to plug one of our platforms, but Adeption, which is a tool that we use to support our delivery, often can do some pre-workouts with videos and questions and reflection, and they can word cloud and pull in that wisdom of the crowd. So people are already engaged and have been thinking about it before they even come to the session. That seems to work quite well.
Great, thank you, Mark. So SurveyMonkey is a great little tool to use for all sorts of things, and certainly to generate excitement. It works really well. Thank you. Anyone else want to jump in? We'll take a couple more.
I think I do similar things. So not to repeat what's been said, because I think it's nice just to send a survey, even as you said, Tanya, with a bit of a training needs analysis, but also even when they show up. So it's technically still before the session starts with promoting, not so, with excitement and stuff, but it's that whole thing of when they first log in, just if there's a slide or something while we're waiting, either lots of chatter and invite people to come in early so they start to get excited before you officially start, or depending on the type of thing, maybe someone taught me once a slide with one of those sort of welcome sort of things, and then while waiting to begin, here's some things that you can be thinking about and ready to contribute. And I find that kind of works to get people up to speed a little bit faster once we start.
Thank you. Yes, that's great, Shaman. And I have actually been to your sessions and you do that so well. So thank you so much for sharing that. Wonderful.
Trivia.
Okay, so key message from this one is think about opportunities to do things before you see them. It's one of the biggest insights I got from Disney, and it works. I've used it. I've used different things, and generating that excitement beforehand really helps you as a facilitator to just get that excitement in the room and to get that connection with your learners as well. So please make a mental note to yourself, try some ideas on pre-workshop or pre-learning event engagement. All right, number 2. Here we go. How you greet people actually matters. I despair when I go to a training course or learning course that I'm a learner, and I walk into the room and the facilitator is still fixing up their slides, still organizing them stuff, and completely ignores me when I walk in the room. I despair at that. It almost makes me feel like walking out. So think about how Disney, I'm going to tell you about 3 things that I do, but I want to show you what Disney does. This is, imagine this, the excitement been building, the countdown's down to like 0. Today's the day you're going to go to Disney. And as you drive in, this is what greets you. Where dreams come true, just in case you needed a little bit more of a reminder. So this is before we even get to the gate. This is driving into, this is like driving into the resorts now, the parks, I should say. This is what greets people. How do we use this idea? Let me tell you about 3 things that I do. So the first thing that I do is I kind of do a similar thing. I don't put it on a road and I don't put it on a billboard, but what I actually do is I use a flip chart paper and I put it on the door outside the room that the people are coming into. This works so well. So obviously this particular session I run some programs, multi-session programs. This was one of them called Building Great Relationships. And I say, are you ready to discover the secrets of connecting with others? Right? And it generates excitement. People walking past get curious. What's going on in that room? Once that excitement is building within like people outside of the room, people who are not even part of the training session, then people who are part of the training session walk in the room and they go, oh, wow, this is going to be really good. This is the first thing that after my welcome email, this is the first thing they see. So what I try and do is kind of bring some of that, you know, Disney magic thing and go and get them excited as they're walking into the room. Also, as they're walking into the room, I use music. Now, you heard Josh playing Disney music today, and it was great. And what I do is I always greet people as they're coming into the room with music. So the first touch point is my welcome video, my welcome email. My next touch point is my butcher's paper advertising my event on the outside of the door. And as they're walking in, they're hearing music, not just any music. I choose music very carefully. I have Spotify playlists of things related to what I am going to teach. So obviously for my Disney sessions like this one, I have my Disney playlist with all of my Disney songs, but I also teach things about workplace culture and also like cultural awareness in Australia. And I have a playlist on all things to do with culture. Are you curious about where I find these songs from? Who'd like to know where I find the songs? It's really simple. I'm going to try and stop that share and start something else. No, maybe I won't. What I do is I literally go to Google and I type in songs about talking to people for my presentation skills, songs about working together for my team building stuff, songs about being strong for my resilience training. Like, Google is wonderful and you can just find pretty much anything you need, and then you just go and put together a playlist of it in Spotify. So it's really simple to do, but people notice it. And sometimes I even run a competition throughout the session to ask them if they've noticed if there's any link between the music that I'm playing throughout the session. So that at the end, I'll give them a prize and go, when they go, oh yeah, that was all Disney songs. And I go, yeah, great, here's your Disney mouse ears. So I kind of build in fun and excitement that way as well, but I use music really to tell part of the story. Does anyone else do that? Is anyone else using music like that? And if you are, can you jump on and tell us about it? I guess no one is. Okay, so I want you to have a think about this. And I think now would be a really good time for like a 5-minute breakout room activity, if that's okay, Vicky. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you into a breakout room. There's going to be like 3 or 4 people in there, depending on what Vicky does with you. And I'd like you to share a topic that you're about to teach. And then what I'd like you to do is, like, you could go onto Google and stuff and just brainstorm some ideas amongst all of you about the 1 or 2 songs that you could add to a playlist for that particular topic. Make sure that everybody has a chance to share a topic and that you're all doing some Google searching. about some of the songs that might be related to that theme. So it's a good idea to stop listening to me for a while and listen to yourselves. Vicky, if you could launch those breakout rooms, that would be great. And I'll see you back here in 5 minutes, please. Welcome back. Welcome back. I hope everyone got some great ideas to share. So great ideas about music that you could use. I'm just going to call on one person, maybe Jen Clark. You're on.
We are. Oh, I'm sorry, Tanya. We're just waiting for 2 more breakout rooms.
Oh, 2 more? I'm sorry, I didn't. Oh, you've got some time. Tell me, just think about it in your head, Jen. What were some of the things that you shared and ideas that you got about music? So we'll just wait till everyone's back.
Awesome, thank you.
Vicky, you'll just let me know when everyone's back, yeah?
Everyone is back.
Oh, good. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I'm still here and you're still there, and that's great. And it was a fun chat, said Susan. Great. So Jen's going to just share a little bit about what happened in her breakout room.
So it was nice. I actually met one person, and I already knew somebody else that I work with.
Oh,
cool. So I was explaining that one of the things our company is going through right now is changing our point of sale system. It hasn't launched yet, but it will be. And I'm maybe thinking an intro would be something about changes, a song's about changes. And so when I Googled it real quick, as you suggested, A Change Would Do You Good by Sheryl Crow, something that makes it a positive on changes, because no one likes change. Everybody's hesitant to change. And this is going to be a big change for everybody in our company. So, people are going to be already coming into training like, I don't want to do this. Yes. So maybe we could just start it off with a really positive message about change. Change is happening. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. That's great. I'm glad that you got some ideas around that. Anyone else? I'll have one more person jump in, please. And Changes by David Bowie. Yes, that's a good one. Anyone else would like to share what happened in their breakout room? We had quite a few of them.
I'll go ahead. It actually was, ironically, it was also about an embracing change course that I have facilitated. But the thing that I did is I started with using David Bowie's Changes. But while it was playing, I asked them to participate, like what songs would they want to hear about during breaks? And they created the playlist, which Carrie Underwood has a song about change. Taylor Swift has Everything Has Changed. Miley Cyrus, Michael Jackson, like one was Man in the Mirror, Michael Jackson, somebody came up with. So I had them create the playlist for the course.
What a great idea. I mean, give them the work to do. But that's such a great idea to get them involved, and then they are invested and they have ownership of that playlist as well, and so they're listening out for those songs. It's amazing how we can subtly change people's minds when we use music. So what a great strategy. Everybody needs to use that one. Okay, finally, how you say hello matters. When we arrive at a Disney park, the cast members are there to greet us, always with a smile. And as I said earlier, I hate it when I walk into a training room and I'm ignored as a learner, because I'm choosing to spend my time with you. So please don't ignore me. Please acknowledge that I've actually walked into the room, and learners are looking for that. Some learners might be a little bit reluctant to be there for a whole range of reasons. There might be a lot on their plate. They're busy, they're not quite sure, they're a little bit fearful. Just saying, like greeting them and saying hello to them in such a warm, friendly way just puts people at ease. Doesn't take much. For that reason, I actually always like to turn up to my sessions. My setup can be anywhere between an hour and a half to an hour before the session actually starts. So I make sure that by the time people are walking into the room, I'm ready to welcome them. Because my learning rooms are it's like my home. I'm welcoming people into my home, and I want them to feel at ease and comfortable with me. I'd like to share, I found this great video about how this middle school teacher greeted his students every morning. Please enjoy.
What I'm gonna set my lights down right here. Okay, is this, great to see you. Thank you. Thank you very much. You ready, Chef? I'm gonna be ready. You ready? All right, what you got? Yeah, me too.
How cool was that? Now, I'm not suggesting that you do that with your learners at all, but what a great idea. And when Josh and I were in Orlando this year, one of the keynotes was Jay Shetty, and one of the things that he said was, how you start the day matters. And that stuck with me. And I thought to myself, that's so true. And so Disney does that in a great way, because they, the people who don't even know us are so happy to see us when we arrive. That middle school teacher that you saw was so happy to see his students. He even learned all of their individual handshakes things. But what a wonderful way to start a learning session when you're making people feel welcome and welcome and at ease and really happy to be there. Number 3, I've just realized we're running out of time. So number 3, the physical environment has a big impact on the experience. One of the things that struck me about the Disney parks is the attention to detail. Everything is catered for. Everything is covered. That from the gardens, from the costumes on the gardens. So that photo that's on there, that's my 2 girls. That was in 2012 at Orlando when we were there for the first time. This year we were lucky enough to go to Epcot during the flower festival that they had there. And this was some of the amazing garden stuff that was there. The attention to detail was amazing, right down to pretzels in the shape of Mickey. So those of you who have never been to Disney, you even get pretzels in the shape of Mickey when you go to Disney. So as I said, no stone is left unturned when it comes to creating a great physical environment. Even the food, not just the pretzels, even the Mickey themed sweets and lollies. I don't know what you call them. We call them cakes and lollies in Australia, but all Disney themed. So given that Disney does such a great job in the physical environment, what are some of the things that we can do as learning facilitators to create a great physical space? Now, let's talk about the room first, all right? Like a physical room. What are some of the things that we can do to create a great space rather than just one of those boring old training rooms that are like desks and chairs? What do you do? Share it with me on the chat. Tell me what you do to create great physical spaces. Set out snacks and candy. It always works. Absolutely. Yes, we call them lollies and chocolate here. Yeah, absolutely. Works every time. Fidget toys. Yes, 9. Room should be clean and well stocked. Yes. Great. Thank you, Brian. What else? Keep those ideas coming. What else do you do? Pens, hand sanitizers, tissues, right? Welcome or key messages on the windows that they see as they walk in. Yes, Shemin, absolutely. Temperature should be comfortable. Yeah, that's so true. Most training rooms in Australia can be quite cold. I'm not sure what it's like over there. So yes, comfortable temperature. Anything else? Is anyone doing anything else that's making that physical environment really cool?
I love little lights, and so I always have lights around.
Oh, lovely. What do you teach, Joy?
Well, right now I'm in Virginia, and I work for a university. But prior to that, I was a professional development specialist, and I worked around the county.
Nice, very good. Thank you. So lights, office supplies, Tylenol. Someone said Tylenol. Interesting. That's headache tablets, I'm assuming. Posters, positive signs, coffee, nature. Someone earlier said things about like choosing a great venue that's not a training room. How good is that? Here's just a couple of my training rooms. So this was a program that I was running for some healthcare workers who were actually learning to be trainers. So this is part of my Rockstar Trainer program. Josh, I'm not sure if you even remember those posters that you see up on the wall. They were at Washington. I actually had them up in the session in the Washington room when you first met me. So those posters are like 16 Secrets to Great Amazing Training, and they're like A2 posters that I take with me everywhere when I'm delivering this topic. So the posters add color. They're also key messages. So it's like the main topics that we're going to cover for the day. They're up on the wall. Have a look at what you notice on the table. Apart from that's when we used to do physical workbooks. We do electronic workbooks these days. I'm a bit sad about that. I know it's good for the environment, but I really loved having physical workbooks. But what else do you notice on there? What else do you notice? You can type it into the chat, just yell it out, I don't mind. What else do you notice on the table? Do you see the markers? Yeah. So Amanda, they're not just any markers, they are scented markers. They smell of really nice things like chocolate and banana and grape and strawberry and stuff. My life changed the day I discovered scented markers. So if you can get hold of them, and if you're not already using them, then hunt them out, because participants love them, and everybody ends up with spots on their nose by the end of the day because they're holding them up to smell, and they like the markers are actually marking their nose. It's very, very funny. And then they're all swapping them around, going, "Oh, you should smell what this one's like." So that's a great one. Of course, water is on the table, and it was a bit of a crowded room. I had no flexibility with that layout. I don't particularly like it for training. It's a little bit boardroom-ish, but that's all I had. But I tried to make the most of what I had. Here's another room. This was before people had actually come in. This was one of my multi-session programs. So my multi-session programs go over about 6 months or more in organizations, and I come in and I see them once a month and run a workshop. And this was, if I'm looking at that, this is, yes, so this is the very last workshop that I run, and you can't see the rest of the room, but this one, what you're seeing here is layers upon layers of workshop posters, so that every workshop I put up the posters of the workshop before, because it builds, right? And so people are actually physically seeing their learning build, as well as experiencing their learning build over the program, over the course of the program. So that's what I do with that. It also helps me to review the program later, and I'll tell you more about that when we get to the review bit. All right, so have a think about the posters that I use are literally just my slides, like key slides, not all of the slides, like key topic slides. And I just make them up as A3 laminated prints. It's really easy, low cost, and very, very visually impactful. But now let's talk about creating amazing learning spaces virtually, because, you know, we're in this new world now. So how do we create an engaging, great learning space when we're in a virtual environment, like in our lounge rooms, for example? What do we do? Tell me what you do. Either type it in the chat or unmute and just jump in and tell me. What do we do in the learning space? Or what ideas might you have to create a great learning space in the virtual environment? So Shaman, you said that a waiting room before, absolutely. And getting, rather than just the host will let you in as soon as they arrive for the program. It's not very inspiring. So a waiting room with a great welcome message is great. And I know that you do that really well. Anything else? Links to materials in the chats. Yeah. I'm even talking about just the space in here. Create agency-led learners choose their own adventure in learning topics or warm-ups. Absolutely, yes, very good, nice. So one of the things that I often do is I often theme my background with the topic that I'm talking about that day. So I was going to do that today, and then I made a really interesting discovery. And there was someone on the call, and I do apologize, I don't remember your name, who had mouse ears, but I could only see them occasionally because your background was virtual. The reason that you're actually seeing my wall and my Mickey Mouse, oh no, that way, and my Mickey Mouse photo up there is because when I put on a virtual background, my mouse ears actually disappeared. And so, so that was a bit pointless because I wanted you to see my mouse ears. So I had to go with a real environment. But I often just pick an image or a background, a virtual background that suits the topic that I'm teaching. So if I wasn't wearing mouse ears, I would have a Disney background here today. Yeah. Tracy, I have my ears, but yes, they disappear. So it was you, Tracy. Was it? Yes, they disappear. And you're right, I don't have a green screen either. So yes, that's why I do it this way. But having really interesting things in your background that are related to the topic is also really useful and can engage learners that way. So have a think about those different things that we can do virtually. We can also play music virtually. You saw Josh doing that earlier today. So that whole music thing also applies to the virtual environment. Great, thank you. Let's keep moving. Number 4, if you can dream it, do it. What does this mean? This means just like Disney did, let your imagination run wild. Don't be so hemmed in by how we've always done an activity or how we've always delivered this topic, or it's mandatory training, so it's got to be serious. Like, don't just let your imagination run wild when it comes to creating new experiences. The first time I went to Disney, I actually saw this. Disney teaches us that anything is possible, even a talking trash can.
Overfishing. Maybe on this side too. I want to get the car wash. Get the car wash. Get the car wash.
I don't know about you, but there must have been someone in some back office in Disney going, oh, what a great idea. Well, let's just have a talking trash can and see how that works. I loved it. Like, it was so unexpected and so delightful and surprised me so much. And I thought, well, if Disney can do that with a talking trash can, what can we do? Mary Poppins said this, right? If you find fun, then it's just going to be the whole of life is going to be a game. So have a think about how we can incorporate some more fun and creativity into your learning. I'm going to throw you into a breakout room again. We're going to call this one reimagining. I want you to think about how to design and deliver differently. So in your breakout rooms, if you'd like to take a photo of this so that you have a record of what you have to do, that would be great. Because one of the things about breakout rooms is you can't see the slideshow anymore. So you're going to be put into breakout rooms. I want you to share a topic that you teach and describe how you currently do it. And then each person is going to give you one idea about something you could do differently, right? So this is just like a brainstorm of creative things. Because we're limited on time, I'm not going to do 15 minutes. I'll probably bring you out after about 8 or 9. In fact, let's do 9, please. Or Vicky, when you do put them into the rooms. Actually, I'll just notice time. No, let's do 7. Put you into breakout rooms, share the topic, and just give each other ideas about one thing that you could do differently. This is just a creative talk fest. Vicky, if you could send them off, we'll put 7 minutes on the timer, and I'll see you back here in 7 minutes. Perfect, thank you, and welcome back. And I'm glad that your re-entry was safe. Hopefully you had an opportunity to share some ideas and get some ideas about different ways that you can deliver a current topic that you've got on your schedule. Don't stop these conversations, like whether it's with people in the room that you might make a connection with today, or whether it's people within your own organisations and your own spaces. A best way to get creative about something is to get someone else's idea on it, because ideas spark ideas, and that's how Disney began. It was like with a mouse and a lot of imagination. So my key message from number 4 about if you can dream it, do it. Don't limit yourself. Talk to people, bounce ideas off each other, and really allow yourself to think very differently about how you currently deliver content. If you'd like to continue that conversation with me, I'll tell you about some of the ways that you can do that at the end of the session. All right, I've realised that we've got 4 minutes left, and if people need to leave in 4 minutes time, this will be recorded and you can leave, but I will literally have you for another probably 10 minutes. So if you can stay, that would be great. I'd just like to talk you through the last one, which is End with a Bang. You'll leave them excited for more. This is what Disney does at the end of every day. Let's go. Oh, sorry, I have lost my... All right, let's go. This is what Disney does. And Disney does the amazing fireworks, of course. So Disney ends every day with a bang. We can end with a bang by getting really creative about how we wrap up a program and finding ways to continue to engage with our learners after the session is over. Here's one way I wrap up a multi-session program. I told you, run 6-month programs in leadership and soft skills here at home. And to wrap up a program, I think I've got a couple of people from my latest group there on the call today. I actually design a scavenger hunt around the city for them. And what I do is I create clues that are relevant to the content that they've learnt over the time with me. And in order to get the next clue, they have to answer the right question or give me give me the correct answer. And then I send them off in the city, and they love it. Yes, it takes a bit of time to organise, but it's an amazingly creative way that gets people really engaged with the content of 6 months of the program in a half, or it takes about half a day to do this scavenger hunt. This is actually Sydney. This is the one I did in Sydney most recently. Shaman, you would know about this one. So I do things like getting them to stand, pose with statues, share their favourite book, do random acts of kindness, hug trees. It's amazing. They love it, they remember it, and they're revisiting the content of the program in a very, very different way. Another thing that I actually do is you remember the posters that you saw up on my walls before? I actually get them to have a look at the posters, and I create activity stations around each of the poster groups. So, and in the activity stations, what I do is I actually have questions and things that they need to do to re-engage with the content from that particular session. And then sometimes I take the posters and I flip them around so they can't actually see them. So there's just a whole range of blank posters on a wall, all of the posters from the program, and I get them to choose one. And whichever one they choose, they need to teach others what they've learnt, or share with others what they've learnt about that particular topic. So there's a whole range of things that we can do that's not just a let's review and wrap up, or let's just put the summary slide up there like that. Like, here's what we covered today. That's not particularly exciting. So if we were to ramp this up, if we were to take this wrap up to the next level, what could I do? What you tell me, I'd like to hear from you. What ideas do you have about what a creative way to wrap this program up today? What could I do with those? Have a think about it. Yeah, jump in, put it in this chat if you like. I'd like to hear from you. I really like talking to people. Have a think about the 5 things that we've talked about today, and what is something that we could do creatively to wrap it all up. Pictures of these things happening. Use the stamp tool and place a stamp on the theme that we can commit to doing differently. I love it, Shaman, I love it. What else could we do?
We could all come up with a creative song to summarize what we've learned.
That's wonderful, I love it. Creative song to summarize. You could even write your own song. Love it. What else could we do? Thinking. No idea is a bad idea. I could assign you to breakout rooms. I'm not going to. We don't have time. Which Disney character represents this session? Nice. I could assign you to breakout rooms. I could give you one of those posters per room, and I could say, give us a summary of what you learned today. That way, I'm not doing the review. I know this stuff. I don't need to review it again. Thanks. But you do, because you, as learners, you need to absorb it, and as we know, the best way that we learn something is when we have to teach it to others. So that's another thing that I could do with this. And if we had time, I may have gone down that path. Another thing I could do is I could literally like pretend that we're in a physical room, and I could turn those slides around and I could get you to pick a number, and that's the number that you need to talk to us on. Mark says, see you soon, Mark. Whoever before that said, create a short story that has a section that goes with this story, within the story. Absolutely. It could just be, you know, it's not very exciting, but type your highlights into the chat for me and assign a number to it. There's a whole range of really creative things that we can do with the wrap up. Once again, limited only by your imagination, but the key message is end with a bang. Leave them thinking about the program. You want them thinking about the program as they're walking in, and you want them thinking about the program as they're walking out. Now, as we know, Disney also keeps us sending us emails and stuff after we visited it, so that we get excited for our next visit. So in the spirit of that, please keep in touch with me. Most of you have my email address now. That QR code will take you to my LinkedIn profile. It should still work. I would love to keep in touch with you. If you, I love just talking about, you know, things to do with learning. So if you found today valuable and you'd like the resources from today and you'd like to keep in touch with me, please send me an email. All of those challenges that you sent me today, sent me over the course of the email, I'm going to have an email conversation with you about that and give you some ideas about some of the things that you can do to overcome those challenges. They're really simple, but I think you've probably already got some ideas on how to overcome those challenges today. But if not, I will definitely continue that. So thank you, everyone. It's been an absolute pleasure. I want to leave. Because you are the magic. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Tanya. That was fantastic. Actually, and sorry, I mispronounced it at the end. Great. It's me trying to Americanize your name, Tanya. So thank you again for a great presentation. I am going to cut off the recording here, but we can stick around if anybody has questions. So.